continue this project in phase 2 with our partners and with more countries. And we are in the process of now developing the proposal, and we are looking for feedback from Nepal about what Nepal would want to do for the next 3 years. The partners of pan-localization project contain in alphabetical order by country. So we have teams working in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, Laos, Nepal and Sri Lanka. How much local language computing is developed across Asia? We have looked at the status of development for 20 different countries, for 20 different languages. The results are already published on the project website. There's a whole report which details this. We are developing Asian localization technology. Nepali Linux is a part of it. I'm going to show you some more details of what we're doing in other countries as well in a short while. We've also been able to develop an Asian localization peer support network. So what we've tried to do is increasingly try to build our own Asian network so that people who need help can seek help locally rather than going all the way to the east or all the way to the west. So it's a South-South partnership where people who are working are helping themselves and helping each other in the process. We are in the process of developing bibliography of Asian localization, so all the research material which is being published in this area, and who's who of Asian localization, so that we know who's working in this area if we need help. We also have a website which has all this information. All our outputs are freely downloadable from our website. They will be available early next year. And towards the end of the project, we will actually document all our findings across Asia and put it in writing in a small report, which we'll be calling Asian Localization Handbook. So just look at the technology which is being developed through this project. Put Nepal first. Within Nepal, we've been working over the last 2 years to develop Nepali Linux distribution. The distribution also contains other parts which include OpenOffice localization, genome, Nepali lexicon and spell checker, and we actually will be working on Nepali grammar checker over next year. In Afghanistan, we are working on Pashto character set encoding, keyboard standards, fonts and lexicon. In Bangladesh, we're actually working on various things. So for example, in Bangladesh, we're also working on optical character recognition system, something we may do for Nepali in the next phase. In Bhutan, we will be launching Zonka Linux in Bhutan later this month. We're also developing a Zonka Linux. In Cambodia, we're doing Khmer fonts, keyboard collation, so various things, line breaking algorithms, spell checkers. And finally, Laos and Sri Lanka, we're also doing similar things in those regions as well. I will actually stop here and obviously want to acknowledge IDRC in all the languages they are supporting for the funds they provided to make all this possible. I would also like to thank the organizers here. I would also like to congratulate MPP, Nepali Linux team, but also a lot of other organizations which have helped and worked with the Nepali Linux team, which include HLCITs, NLIT, CAN, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu University. There's just Bhasha Sanchar project through EU funding. It's just been an incredible collaborative experiences. Just, of all the countries we've been working with, Nepal's just done incredibly well. One of the greatest thing about Nepal has been this spirit of people willing to work together and willing to work together for their language. It's been great, So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now call on Professor Pat Hall, Project Leader of Bhasa Sanchar.
Namaste. It's a great privilege to be here at the launch of the Nepalinux system, and I think a proud moment for the country and for the teams that have developed it. I'm here really to a very short presentation, just on behalf, in some sense, of the European Union and the Bhasa Sanchar project. The European Union has partly funded the development, but a small part of the system, as we've heard about. Of course, the major contribution has come from the Canadian Development Organization through the South-South partnerships that are set up in Lahore, in Pakistan, that some have talked about. The European Union is, of course, a conglomerate of states with national languages really rather like South Asia. And in Europe there are, I'm not really sure how many official languages now, but 10 plus. And all business of the European Union takes place in all the official languages of the community. And this means that the proceedings of Parliament and all the organizations have simultaneous interpretations of all the proceedings, and all documents of the European Union have to be translated into all languages. So the European Union spends really a very significant proportion of their budget on translation. And not surprisingly, they've looked to technology to help them manage these multiple languages. And so there's been significant investment in translation technologies, and then more generally in computational linguistics and language technologies. And this is an investment and a knowledge that we've gathered, which we really want to share with communities across the world. Also, the provision of computers in multiple languages is of great significance for the European Union. Now, of course, the early developments of computers were partly in Europe, partly in the US, and there's a very strong case that the computers were invented in Germany and not in the US or the UK. But certainly the practice of computing in German, in French, in Spanish and so on, has the history of that is as long as the history of computing. And so the way computing happens is very different from South Asia. But there are new languages coming in, and we have to be concerned with localization, of supporting these languages with technology. Particularly the software industry in the US has looked for wider markets, they've looked for sales across the world, and now much more than half the sales of software